The moment I opened the airlock, I saw her, or at least, the fragments of her memory, before my senses could even comprehend what I was witnessing. A girl, barely 17, standing in the center of the wreckage of the asteroid outpost, her eyes glowing faintly with a light that was not entirely human. She looked like she had stepped out of a dream, or a nightmare. My first thought was disbelief, then terror. How had she survived? And why had she come here, to me? The silence of space was suffocating. Even through the hull, I could feel the weight of the vacuum pressing against my chest. Every instinct screamed danger. But beneath the fear, something else stirred. An inexplicable recognition. My hands shook as I extended them toward her, though I knew they could do nothing to protect her from what had hunted her across the galaxy. This can't be real," I whispered. But she tilted her head, studying me with an intensity that felt like it could strip my soul bare. "You are the one," she said, voice soft but echoing with authority. "You brought me home." I had no idea what she meant. I didn't even know where home was anymore. The Earth I knew was a ruin, a planet scrawled with scars of war and abandoned ambition. Humanity had fractured into factions, colonies scattered across the stars, and yet somehow this girl had emerged from the shadows of time and space as if she carried the key to something far larger than myself. I didn't notice the shadow moving behind the debris until it was almost upon her. I reacted instinctively, shoving her aside. There was a hiss, a glint of metallic claws, and then it vanished. I froze, heart hammering, aware that we were being watched. And then the voice came, low, melodic, impossibly ancient. "She has returned," it said, and the sound of it made my blood run cold. "After all these cycles, my daughter, my child, my fault." I turned and there she stood, the queen. Not a human, though she looked deceptively so. Her skin shimmered like liquid silver, her eyes pools of swirling galaxies. Her presence made the air itself tremble, bending the light around her in ways that should have been impossible. She was mourning in rage wrapped in one impossible form, and when she looked at the girl, I saw the heartbreak of millennia compressed into a single shattering moment. "You!" she whispered, stepping closer. Her voice trembling as if the years themselves were clawing their way out. "You are survived." The girl flinched at the queen's words, as if expecting punishment, judgment, or some cosmic retribution. But instead, the queen's face contorted, not in anger, but in longing. Her hand reached out, trembling, inches from the girl's face. I thought you were lost to me forever." I wanted to speak, to explain, to demand answers, but the air itself seemed too heavy for words. The girl, her name was Lyra, turned to me, fear and confusion mingling in her gaze. "Who is she?" she asked, voice trembling. "Why does she know me?" Before I could answer, the queen's gaze snapped toward me, and the air grew thick with accusation. "You brought her back." Her voice was a storm contained in velvet. "You human. You dared to cross the void and retrieve her from the exile I could not undo." I swallowed hard. I didn't know she was yours. I only knew she needed safety. And I thought I could help her survive." Her eyes, burning with impossible light, pierced through me. "You thought?" she repeated, and then the silence returned, stretching longer than any eternity I had ever felt. But that was only the beginning. Lyra stepped forward, hesitating between the two of us. "I remember flashes," she said slowly. "A ship, voices, a voice calling me mother, and someone else. Someone saving me." She looked at me then, and the recognition in her eyes was both terrifying and grounding. "You!" Her words sent a shiver down my spine. We were connected now by fate, by choices that had been made long before we ever existed. And yet, the queen's gaze did not soften entirely. "You cannot understand what you have done," she said. "You have crossed laws older than stars, broken pacts that even time feared to touch." The words hung in the air, as chilling as any threat. And yet, there was vulnerability in her voice, a thread of humanity, or whatever it was that passed for it in her alien form, that made my chest ache. We retreated into the Queen's citadel, a structure that floated above the surface of a shattered moon like a shard of starlight. Every wall pulsed with strange energy, veins of luminescence tracing patterns I could not decipher. Lyra clung to me instinctively, a fragile thread tethering her to the only human presence she had known. I felt her heart beat against my chest, faster than it should have been. The Queen watched us from the shadows, a silent storm. "This place," I murmured awestruck. It's alive. Yes, she replied. It remembers everything. Every betrayal, every loss, every hope that dared to flicker here. And now, it remembers her. Her gaze softened for a brief heartbeat, and I caught a glimpse of what might have been the mother she had once been. But that glimpse shattered as quickly as it appeared, leaving only cold, imperious authority. Lyra's memories began to surface in fragments, chaotic visions of experiments, exiles, and alien worlds that twisted reality itself. I remember the sky bleeding, she whispered. And someone telling me not to look back. But I did. What you saw, the Queen said softly, was a consequence of fear, not choice. You were stolen from me, hidden in human custody, thought to be lost. And yet, here you are. The revelation hung in the air like a storm about to break. I could feel the weight of the centuries pressing down on all of us. And then came the warning, whispered as if it were a prophecy. There are those who will not forgive your return, the Queen said. The balance was shattered when you left. And they will come. I didn't need to ask who. Across the galaxy, hidden in dark corners, ancient powers stirred, alert to the disturbance we had caused. This was not just a reunion. It was the opening of a door that should have remained sealed. Over the following cycles, I learned the truth about Lyra. She was not just the Queen's daughter. She was a bridge. Her very existence threatened old hierarchies, human and alien alike. And she trusted me because I had saved her. And yet, that trust made her vulnerable. The Queen trained her in ways I could barely understand, shaping her mind, teaching her to manipulate energy that bent stars, to hear whispers across space and time. Lyra grew stronger by the day, her presence a challenge to everything I had known about survival. And every night, when I watched her sleep, I felt the weight of a decision that was no longer mine alone. Then came the attack. A fleet of warships, black as a void, descended upon the citadel without warning. I had expected enemies, but not this scale, not this speed. Explosions rocked the structure, throwing us against walls and tearing corridors open like paper. Lyra panicked, and I grabbed her, shielding her as shards of alien metal rained down. The Queen emerged, radiant and terrible, energy flaring around her like the birth of a nova. She raised her arms, and the fleet was torn apart in flashes of light and sound that defied comprehension. I watched in awe and terror, as her daughter stood beside her, learning, mimicking, growing into the power that had been denied her for years. And then, amid the chaos, came the realization. I had brought her home, yes. But in doing so, I had also brought her into the eye of a storm far larger than any human could survive. The moral choice I had thought simple, rescue a child, protect a life, had exploded into a maelstrom of cosmic consequence. We survived. The citadel, though scarred, held. The Queen stood among us, luminous and terrible, and for the first time, I saw a hint of relief in her expression. Lyra looked at her mother, awe and fear mingling, and then at me, gratitude flashing like a star in her gaze. You did the impossible, the Queen said, voice trembling with something almost like emotion. You returned what was lost. I nodded, exhausted, heart still hammering from the battle. I didn't know it would be like this, I admitted. You could not have known, she said. But it was necessary. All of it. In the quiet aftermath, as the dust settled and the strange energy of the citadel hummed around us, I felt the impossible weight of understanding. Lyra belonged here with her mother, in a place that was both alien and hers. And I belonged only as a witness, a guardian, a bridge between two worlds that would never truly reconcile. Lyra approached me, eyes wide. You didn't have to do it, she said softly. You saved me. I smiled, though it was tinged with sorrow. Someone had to. And then the Queen, radiant in her grief and power, spoke one final truth. Sometimes, she said, the ones who bring back the lost are not the ones we expect. Sometimes, the smallest spark can reignite a universe. I looked at them, mother and daughter reunited at last, and understood the magnitude of what had happened. I had crossed impossible distances, broken laws older than stars, and returned a life thought lost forever. But it was not just the reunion that mattered. It was the choice, the courage, the humanity in the face of cosmic impossibility. As I left the citadel to drift among the stars, I glanced back at the mother and daughter standing together, luminous and unbroken. Their silhouettes glowed against the fractured moon, a beacon of hope and consequence intertwined. And I realized, with a mix of awe and melancholy, that some returns are larger than any one life. Some rescues change everything. And some losses are only temporary, waiting for the courage to bring them home. The universe stretched endlessly before me, and I knew this. The queen had her daughter again. But I had witnessed a miracle that no human or alien would ever forget. And in that silence, I understood the truth of her words. Some sparks never die. They only wait to be found.